First responders tend to have a high tolerance for misery. Think about it. We're tired. What do? Stay awake. Like we keep going. If things are hard, we push longer, faster, harder. Like first responders really do. It's one of their greatest skill sets, which is that high tolerance to endure the suck.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Firewire podcast. We know it's been a bit of a break since our last episode, but we're back. It feels great to be behind the mics again. We want to thank everyone for tuning in, whether you're listening to our favorite podcast platform or watching on YouTube. We've had a lot of feedback and ideas come in through our email and social media. And one of the things listeners asked for was a more relaxed, conversational studio setup for those watching the show. So we started transforming our space into just that, a comfortable, laid-back setting where we can have real, open conversations.
Today's episode focuses on something incredibly important in our profession, mental health in the fire service. We're joined by Dr. Benson from Tampa Bay Psychology today, who works directly with first responders and understands the unique challenges that we face both on and off of the job.
Before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors, Frontline Fire Training Institute. Frontline is a veteran and firefighter-owned company dedicated to provide convenient, high-quality education that lets firefighters learn at their own pace. Their state of Florida approved courses help you prepare for certifications, promotions, and success in your fire service career. Check them out today at myfireclass.com.
And as always, if you have ideas, requests, questions, or sponsorship inquiries, or even if you'd like to donate something for our studio wall, shoot us an email at thefirewirepodcast@gmail.com. Again, it's thefirewirepodcast@gmail.com. So, like we said before, today we're joined by Dr. Benson from Tampa Bay Psychology. So, Dr. Benson, thank you for joining us today.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me.
So the first thing we like to do with our guests is we just want to give you an opportunity to talk about yourself, how you got to where you are today, why you have such a passion in taking care of first responders, specifically firefighters, a little bit about your background.
It's always my least favorite subject.
Yep, it's everyone's.
A little bit of a long journey, but if I'm shortening it, so I always wanted to go into psychology, but realistically, I wanted to do forensic psychology.
Okay.
So I wanted to work with the criminal mind, criminal behavior, and I actually did that for quite a bit of time. I was in the federal prison system doing competency evals, going to court, some gnarly cases like serial killers, all the above.
Wow.
But prior to that, like a lot of my training was with the first responder community. And at the time, it was mostly with law enforcement because unfortunately, fire was always dragging a little behind in terms of how much investment in resources or mental health was going into fire at that point. And I will tell you, working adjacent to law enforcement, working adjacent to first responders while I was in the criminal system, it always hit a mark for me. And so when I decided to take the departure away from criminal behavior, it was a natural place for me to go back to because for me, I was connected with the idea that these were our people who were so radically underserved, but were facing so many significant issues. And that lack of service that was helping them move forward or heal or be the best versions of themselves. It was not only hurting the community, but on the human level, it was hurting them personally. And it just so spoke to my heart. So when I started my company, the goal was how can we start breaking down the barriers that our first responders face when it comes to mental health access or resources or advancements. And those barriers include the various things like stigma or administrative support, community support, funding, resources, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure we might be talking about some of that stuff today, but apart from that, I will tell you, I was raised super blue collar. Even though I pursued therapy, I don't think I ever tried therapy until well into adulthood. So working with the first responder culture, I so get it from even the lived experience place in terms of what does it mean to reach out and ask for help. So all of that just spoke so personally to me, and I would never change it. I'm glad I'm here, and I can't see myself leaving it anytime soon.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, first of all, hearing your background, being on the criminal side, it's the first I've heard that. That had to be an incredible experience in its own.
Well, the funniest part about it, which I know is going to garner so many jokes, but I've got to say it. So at the time, my last name was Bang. And I want you to take a second to think about Dr. Bang in prison. We don't necessarily have to record any jokes that accompany that name.
Right.
But it did get me noticed.
Yeah, so. I bet. Oh, man. I just want to say is that, it's been about 3 years, Tampa Bay Psychology has been affiliated with Pasco County. Mm-hmm. I think it's been about that long. It's been an incredible success. I know we were talking earlier about the amount of our members that are taking advantage of Tampa Bay Psychology. Yeah. And, it's so great to see because like you referenced earlier the stigma, right? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? There was no one wanted to talk about the issues that were going on, right? It didn't make you a man, right? So no one wanted to talk about anything. And, it's kind of that unspoken, no one wanted to talk about the suicides, even though we knew that the rate was incredibly high. And when we started having a conversation about mental health in the fire service, and it's okay to talk about it, it's okay to reach out for help. We kind of saw that shift. And since Tampa Bay Psychology has been a part of Pasco County, I mean, it's been an incredible success. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many people have reached out to us, thanking us for even being a part of it,
That's awesome.
And bringing you and your staff here.
That's so awesome. That I can't tell you, it just makes my heart so warm to hear that. And like my first thought has nothing to do with ego, even though I'm very proud of the team because our team is the one that's part of that success. It's the type of treatment that they're doing. It's how available and accessible they are to folks reaching out. It just makes me happy that people are getting help and not suffering. Like there's no need to suffer.
Right.
How would you describe the landscape of mental health in the fire service?
Now or back then?
Both.
Okay.
Where did we start and where are we at now?
Started in the dark ages, like bubonic plague area. So nothing existed way back when. If anything, the only thing that did exist was mental health was punitive. So, and I think that's true for all first response professions where administrative bodies and supervisors didn't know how to apply mental health resources in a way that restored an employee's well-being and health so that they can continue being at work and a productive employee beyond even just being a healthy, happy person outside of the workplace. So I think back then it was a sign of weakness. It was a threat to your ability to continue doing your job. I know I have family members who served in the fire service, and way back when, the level of untreated obsessive compulsive disorder that developed out of running into so many fires from wood structures because the construction of the St. Petersburg community at that time looked totally different. My poor uncle suffered years without any assistance because nothing existed for him. And that's, I think, the landscape of what it used to be was everybody suffered in silence. Everyone was alone on an island. Whereas now, I do think we're starting to connect back to openness of conversing, feeling more comfortable acknowledging that call sucked. That was hard to do. I do think there is still quite a bit of reservation about one of the most meaningful aspects of mental health, which is how does our personal life and our personal stressors affect us? I do believe people are still very cautious to acknowledge that with their brothers and their sisters in the fire service, but we are getting a lot more dialogue and a lot more openness when it comes to the internal culture of mental health.
I think the one thing I would like to get into today is about those external stressors that you may have in your personal life, right? And the fact that nobody wants to talk about what they have going on at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're going through, a divorce, or you're separated, or it's financial stresses, or, something with your children, whatever it may be. And I mean, we see it, right? We see it at work. I mean, you're around these guys, excuse me, for a third of your life. And you start realizing when someone is different at the station, right? And you're kind of wondering, what's going on at home, and everyone kind of keeps that to themselves. And then we just see that kind of boil over, especially when you start adding the different calls that we run on a daily basis, right? Those traumatic experiences with what you have in the home life. Maybe you have no support at home either. So can you talk through with, how do you, if I'm a firefighter today and I have some things going on at home, what can I do to try and fix those issues or have them not affect my work life? Do you have any advice? Or
I feel like that's such a loaded question, right? And I don't think there's one concise answer to give because it's unique. The obvious would be being okay to acknowledge that the issue exists. And I think I always start with first responders tend to have a high tolerance for misery. Think about it. We're tired. What do? Stay awake. We keep going. If things are hard, we push longer, faster, harder. First responders really do. It's one of their greatest skill sets, which is that high tolerance to endure the suck. But the problem is we don't often get out of our way when it comes to that. And I will say I'm the perfect example of that. I was very much taught growing up, which is why I connect so well with first responders. Life's going to hand you lots of problems, and it's okay to be upset about it, but you can't stay upset too long because you still got a problem to be solved. So what do you do about your problem? And love my parents for teaching me how to be resilient to solve problems, which is what I see with my first responders. But the problem is that then I don't think other people could help me solve that more efficiently, give me ideas, boost me up while I'm enduring it. And so that's where we all tend to suffer alone. So it's the idea of if we have, let's say, relationship issues at home, people tend to not want to include a counselor or a therapist to help them learn how to communicate more effectively, how to hear their partner better, how to interact more effectively, because they think if I just change this, or if I just do this, if I just focus on my own devices, I'll surely solve this problem. So we suffer alone. Or finances. If we've incurred debt, sometimes we feel so much shame attached to that debt, or we feel like nobody else can solve that problem for us. So once again, we suffer alone instead of pulling other people in to either give us ideas or just say like, hey, you can do this. Like, I know it's hard, but keep with it. You'll pay this off soon.
Right.
So I think my if I can offer the one thing to start with, knowing that there are lots of ways to address how our personal life stressors do impact us on the job, it's be okay to acknowledge that just because the problems exist is not a personal reflection on whether or not you failed at something. And then be okay that there's actually a lot of different things out there that could help you, and it doesn't have to be as hard as it is.
I think that's the one word we use a lot when we talk to our new hires and our younger people, that we need to convey to the older guys that have been on the job is that okay.
Yeah.
Like it's okay for mental health. Yeah. It's okay to wash your gear. We've talked about it on this podcast before. The word okay needs to be accepted in the fire service on multiple levels. Yeah. Mental health, washing our bunker gear, learning new ways to do things. And it's just for so long, the word okay wasn't allowed. It was tabooed.
Mm-hmm.
And now, again, we're encouraging. I think we've heard that word over and over from all the different professionals that it's okay to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think the hard part too is, like, so when I came on, I've been on the job 10 years, and, the one thing that you're taught when you first get in is, right, you don't bring anything home. When you get home, you don't talk to your significant other about what's going on at work, right? You don't talk about the calls because, you don't want them to know what you just saw or what you just did the day before. And I think that adds, an extra level of stress on it, right? Like, so I can't decompress at work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't decompress at home. How do I decompress? Well, most of us turn to vices, right? Whether it's alcohol or, some type of other addiction, gambling, right? Yep. Things like that, just kind of puts you in this hole that you're not going to get out of because you're not willing to ask for help. So kind of on that topic, like talking about home life, especially here in Pasco, we just hired a ton of brand new firefighters as we're transitioning to the 24/72s.
Yeah.
As they get older, they're going to start families, right? They're going to find a spouse and have kids. So, what kind of advice do you have for, a new firefighter that's getting married and getting ready to start that family, kind of a way that they can have that communication, with their significant other to make sure that when they come home, right? Like me and my wife have a code where, like, if I come home and I'm just like, I'm going to lay down, she knows not to bother me for at least a couple hours, because it either means I was up all night or we had some type of, terrible call the day before.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I'm going to steal the word communicate, and don't be afraid to communicate. At the end of the day, and this is true when I do all of my relationship counseling, because that is a lot of the work we do. Just a sidebar. The bulk of the work that in the sessions at our office, even though we're associated with you guys through your occupation, it's mostly on personal stuff. I'm going to be honest. So my biggest thing when it comes to relationships and healthy home lives is you can't expect that the other person knows exactly what you need and want. And by the way, we individually are responsible and our own agents of happiness. So I choose a partner who adds to my happiness, or I choose to keep a partner in my life who detracts from it. But at the end of the day, I still am responsible. They don't have to give it to me. I shouldn't expect that they already know it just because I've been in a relationship for 9-10 years.
Right.
I still have a responsibility to go in and say, like, hey, it was a really rough shift. I think I need to go lay down for a little bit. I do this in my own personal life. And by the way, like, this is where I so resonate with the life that you just described, which is we don't always want to take our work home with us. One, we want those boundaries, but also two, some of our partners might not have the emotional fortitude to be able to really hear the details of what we experienced. But by the way, we need to process those details of what we experienced. So that's the problem, is you are forced onto that island more and more and more. And sometimes you do have to talk about what the dead kid looked like.
Right.
And sometimes you do need to go into the details of what that accident appeared to be to you or why it was difficult. But your partner might not have the fortitude to do that. So I usually encourage people, if you don't have a partner that has that fortitude, go in and be clear enough without compromising their psychological and emotional safety. So I might go in and I might say, like, hey, I had a really bad case where a person was talking about a death. I'm emotionally, I need some time to sit with it. I don't know if I need to go out to dinner tonight to feel distracted, or I don't know if I just need a breather. That's so informative. And you know what your partner doesn't feel when you're that clear? They don't feel like they did something wrong, or why are you the asshole? Or why don't you love me enough and you're not giving me attention and you were just gone for 24 hours and now you want to come in and take a nap again. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So that's where all this tension can build up. But if we actually start opening up a little bit more, we're going to keep our partner hopefully on the same page with us.
Yeah, I think when I came on, it was like you change your uniform at work. So now you take your superhero costume off and you go home and you're just a regular citizen again.
Mm-hmm.
Or, someone said, oh, take your boots off. Never walk in your house with your boots, because your boots is you're stepping out of what you just dealt with all day. So I think that now we've got to be like, hey, don't distract from it, accept it, and then find ways to cope with it.
Yeah. Also, I hear that encouragement, but how unrealistic? Like, think about it. Think about your professions. You guys, for how many hours a week or a month, let's go with the firefighter schedule, how many hours a month are you a go-to person for the community? You are looked at as the person that has the solution for the problem, whatever it is. You're the go-to. Most of you go home and you're still the go-to, right? Like, if you want to say head of household or like the problem solver or the alpha role, like pick your terminology for it. But most of you guys and gals, like lumping everybody in there. And it really doesn't matter status of life, whether you have kids, no kids, partnership, not. You tend to be the go-to in that home. So just because you changed your uniform, you're in dad mode, mom mode, friend mode, whatever it might be, you're still naturally who you are. Like, the characteristics that drew you to the fire service aren't going to turn off just because you're off duty. What we don't know how to do is to shut off the skill sets that we use, right? So come the fire service, we use a lot of compartmentalization. That's good. I like that. I don't want you to be overly emotional on scene. If I call you because I'm having a heart attack and you start crying and snotting all over the place, you have failed me.
Yes.
Don't do that if my mama is dying. Go save my mama.
Right.
And so I want you to be compartmentalized. But when you get to be a normal, everyday Joe, you don't have to do that. So be okay to turn that off a little bit. And you don't have to be a slobbering, blubbering mess just because I'm a therapist talking about emotions. I don't want you to be a big old marshmallow walking around. That's also weird. You'd be weird if you're doing that. Like, if you're crying all over the place, like, weird.
Right.
But I want you to be able to say, like, ooh, that one really, like, that stung. I got to go lick my wounds for a little bit.
Right.
Now, what about the people that they don't feel anything?
Like, the psychopaths? No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
they exist too.
You run a call and you ask them, I'm okay. And they're like, yeah, I'm okay. And they seem absolutely, nothing's, it doesn't seem to bother them. Yeah,
no, that's real. That's real. Not everybody's lying to you, right? So if you think about it, and I won't get into the nerdy weeds unless you guys really want me to, but we have the layers of our consciousness. We're kind of like the layers of the ocean, right? So at the front superficial level, the shallow end, if you will, that's what we're consciously connecting to. So there's actually going to be tons of calls that you walk away going like, oh yeah, that was whatever. What are we doing for dinner? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody died, but you're like, that was part of my workday. And guess what? It's true. You signed up for death, destruction, other crap.
Right.
And some of those calls are also going to reinforce this idea of, look how useful I am. Look how skilled I am. Like, I feel good. I helped people. I saved the day, if that seems a little dramatic to you, but it's point made, right? Like, look at me affect change in the community, and I feel good about that. But way deep down, you know, where like the ugly fish live in the ocean and you can't really get to, that's our subconscious level. So all that graphic and traumatic exposures, they are going in that subconscious or primitive brain. I also like to refer to it as the backpack of bullshit, right? It's constantly getting new material added, but there are going to be times some calls just don't feel traumatic. We do need to be aware that it's all getting stored away, though. Like, we have to accept that fact. It doesn't mean that the ugly angler fish of trauma is going to come rise to the surface necessarily, but we do need to accept the fact that the fire service is accumulating traumatic exposures no matter what.
Right.
And we have to do things to take care of ourselves to keep all of that controlled.
It's funny you're saying all these things, and I'm thinking about this call that I had, you know, and it was one of the most hectic scenes I've ever been on, you know, multiple pedestrians struck, the whole thing. And leaving that call, and it was, terrible call. We had some good outcomes, some not good outcomes, right? But coming back, and we had CISM debriefing after, and I'm walking in there and everyone's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm on top of the world." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, because I did everything that I was trained to do. It went great. We were behind the 8 ball. We got there. We did the things we needed. Like, was the outcome good? No. But we did what we were supposed to do, and we did it pretty damn well. And I go back to my medic school instructor. He said this thing, and it always stuck with me. I don't want bad things to happen to people. But when they do, I want it to be in my territory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of that call that we all have, right? I could tell you, we're at the station, right? You see a structure fire drop or a shooting or anything like that, right? Everyone's going to the truck to read the notes.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be the one on that call, right? But we don't realize what that does to you after. I mean, I remember, coming on and everyone's like, okay, you got to come look at this dead body. You got to come see it because you need to be exposed to this because this is what you're going to see. And now we've kind of gotten away from that. Like, the captain that I had, John Benchoff, he was my captain for a long time, and he was kind of the lead in all of the CISM program that we brought here to Pasco County. And it was funny to see like the transition, like as he got educated on these things, to kind of see him like, hey, you guys aren't going in. I'm going to go in with the paramedic. Mm-hmm. The rest of you guys are going to be kind of kept away from this. And, in the beginning is kind of, well, what the fuck, this is what we do. Right. But then you appreciate that fact, like, not being exposed to all these things. Like you said, every day we go to work, we're exposed to something. Yep. It's going to get stored away. And, you always go back to that. Everyone's a glass, right? And every time you're just pouring more water and more water. And at some point it's going to overflow. And so to try and we're going to be exposed to these things no matter what, but we need to do what we can to reduce the exposures when we can reduce them.
For sure. For sure. And I think that's one of many strategies to build resiliency. Actually, before I got here at the last session I had, I was talking to an individual, happens to be a firefighter, has a high needs disabled child, will be that way for the longevity that child's entire life. You can imagine that day that baby was born, that man's entire world changed, even in a way that was unpredictable. Right. And then still goes to work and is a firefighter and is accumulating all of this, these exposures and all of that. And he was saying, he's like, when I sit and I do nothing, I feel lazy. I was like, boom, that's it. You don't know how to, one of your problems is you don't know how to rest and restore with intention. And I will say, think about who we all are and hiring right now. So I'm of the millennial jet set, right? And our generation got epically screwed from the universal perspective. We had Y2K when life was going to blow up.
Yep.
We had a couple of economic declines. None of my generation can buy houses anymore. We had 9/11 where the world was going to war. We had so much instability. So if you ever wonder why millennials tend to be an anxious generation, it's because the world was unpredictable. But our generation, among the Xers and all of that, we were taught that rest is lazy. So why do you think we have so much burnout? Why do you think we have so much compassion fatigue? Why do you think our people take on more and more overtime shifts or second jobs and all of that? Because we don't know how to rest and restore with intentionality. And that's also a part of resilience and keeping trauma at bay. So the call you offered as an example, you walked away from all that traumatic exposure feeling purposeful, feeling useful. That was a healthy trauma integration, even though it still went into the pool of experiences. We can keep you there if you use resiliency strategies along the way that still allow you to feel useful and productive, even when life gets hard,
right,
as it moves forward.
Well, I can tell you from our positions, life's always hard. Yeah. Being involved in a union too, outside of what we do. Yep.
I would imagine.
How do we break the stigma? What can departments and leadership do to encourage more open discussions?
Okay. Multifaceted, right? I think avenues like this is very obvious. We're talking about it. We're speaking about it super positively. One of the greatest ways to break the stigma barrier is when people do it, talk about it. Talk about if it was helpful.
Right.
Talk about if it felt nervous. Talk about if you had a different opinion about it. The more open we are without judgment, the more someone's like, oh, that might be an option for me. So you might say the thing that connects and resonates, but I think at an admin level, the more that admin normalizes that it's not punitive, you're not in trouble, so now I recommend it. It's, acknowledging the human experience, like all the layers of admin checking in on who is beneath them to say, like, are you doing okay? Are you taking care of yourself?
Right.
Admin doesn't necessarily have to say, like, oh, you should go to therapy. That could cross a boundary that they wouldn't feel comfortable with, or could be compromising, in
Right.
different ways. But all of us just acknowledging that we are actually all just humans here. And by the way, if you showed up late for a shift or you kind of dropped a ball, there is a high liability nature to the job. Yes, we have to be aware of that, which means you have a grave responsibility to take care of yourself. But it doesn't mean you're also not a human. And so checking in and having chiefs, captains, lieutenants, everybody say, like, I notice you seem a little off today. What is going on?
Right.
Not, excuse my language, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
It's just like, hey, you normally aren't like this. Are you okay?
Right.
Like, that's two different approaches.
Yeah. I mean, I think we are, I say it all the time, especially with our administration that we have here in Pasco County. Like we're very blessed to have the people that we have in the positions that they are in. Because when I look at, when we have a member that, okay, hey, they showed up late to work, right? Or they've called out multiple times in a row, or, hey, this is out of character for you. Like somebody from the administration reaches out to the member to make sure that they are okay, right? Whereas in other departments, that doesn't happen, right? It's immediate discipline, right? We're going to double down on the fact that you're having a hard time at home.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, we have no programs established to even help you get through what you're getting through, right? Like, and there are departments in the Tampa Bay area, that still have that kind of mentality. And, the one thing that I love, that we have this platform now is that we can highlight the things that we're doing here in Pasco County, right? We can bring you on here to talk about the things that you're doing at Tampa Bay Psychology and hopefully start to kind of change the fire service as a whole. Because the way I see it is that in a lot of places you have people that get promoted right into those administrative levels. And it's like the moment that they put those bugles on, they forget where they came from, right? They forget that they were just having the same struggles that everyone else is having right now out in the field, right? And, we got to get away from that, right? We have to, like you said, you have something out of character, just ask them, right? Are you okay? Do you need help? Like, no, you're not always going to make them drink the water you lead them to, right? But it's at least you're giving that outreach. You're giving them the ability to say, yes, I have a problem, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. And I think when we give people the resources to change, at that point, we've also isolated their responsibility to do it. And so realistically, if there is an ongoing issue and barriers that person is working with, then those become isolated, right? So then that's a whole different set of problems to be addressed and appropriately. So I think when supervisors or administrative bodies express a sense of caring and they lead with psychologically informed leadership style, we can also better isolate what truly is a discipline or a correction issue versus what is something that is treatable, and there's a different pathway for that.
Right.
It's interesting you said about the moment you put bugles on and people forget what it's like and all of that. I definitely have seen that more times than not and continue to see it. I also do think what can be isolating for leadership is their struggles are totally different than what it was to be in the crews and station houses and all of that. And they can feel radically misunderstood by the companies too. And so then that creates more of a barrier and a divide from their perspective as well. And that's what I mean is when we invest in psychologically informed leadership, they will lead by example, and then it will benefit coming back to them too.
Right.
Those interactions will just be significantly more collaborative.
Right.
So we'll segue into that. We talk about resources. What are resources and hope that we have for our members and for people that need help?
Okay. From our office.
And other stuff that's out there.
And other avenues. Okay. So with our group specifically, we have 3 office locations, 9 providers. We are always trying to add providers to staff to just gain more and more diversity of skill sets, ideas, types of therapists, so on and so forth. It does take me well over a year to vet and hire any new person. So that's really meaningful because counseling and therapy is about your fit, right? So I might have a personality that you like, or I might really piss you off. Right. So not everybody wants to work with me. They might not like my style. They might not like the interventions I offer. When I take over a year to vet any new team member coming on, it's because they have the base level cultural competency, knowledge, skill sets, so on and so forth, to create the highest opportunity of success early on, still knowing that there has to be a match issue. But out of those 3 locations, those 9 providers, all the different types of interventions that we offer, any member can come and those services are free for them. And those services include individual counseling or couples counseling. That's really important. We also just expanded to include retirees too, which is
that's
huge.
Wonderful.
Our retirees, there's so much identity transition, and that would be a whole separate podcast we could talk about, because we actually our group focuses on retiree preparedness that predates your retirement, like how to start that shift at the mid to late stage of your career. But we can talk about that another time. But so your sessions are unlimited too. That's really important.
Right.
When you hear unlimited and they're free, so you don't go through insurance, you come, the services are already paid for you. I can treat you based on what your needs are. If you're suffering from pretty intense substance abuse issues, whereas you're just working on general wellness and self-esteem and burnout, I might need more sessions with you than I need with you. And the other idea behind the way we construct treatment is you're not supposed to go away. I don't necessarily need to see you every week for years on end.
Right.
But I need you to know, if I was your therapist and we connected, you eventually get to the point where you call me when you need me. Like, I am the tool in your back pocket, and I am one of many of the tools that you have developed. You might use all the other tools and then say, nope, I really want a session again. And it's been months since I've seen you. And you always know you have that place to go. Part of those interventions that are available, we have dialectical behavioral therapy, which if you've ever been that person that keeps asking yourself, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole? Why does everyone think I'm the asshole?
Pete? I'm kidding.
So Dr. Higgs on our staff does a really great, concise DBT protocol that kind of just helps you learn how to more effectively manage your assholedom, right? Mm-hmm. You're not always the asshole. Sometimes it's you just don't know how to express that effectively. Believe it or not, we actually have some people that really respond well to our music therapy interventions because they don't want to use emotion words. They don't like emotions. Those feel yucky. I'm not fluent with them, but they really navigate feelings through music. So I know that a lot of people think that would only be consistent with children. Believe it or not, I got a lot of my guys that they really love the sensory experience of safely navigating emotions and hardship through music. Awesome. EMDR, great for trauma.
Can we talk about that a little
Yeah,
more?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just blah, 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 blah.
because
No.
EMDR is the one thing people in the firehouse are talking about.
Yeah.
What is it? I hear about it. Does it work?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR. Do you know that creepy thing your dogs do when they're sleeping, where their eyeballs look possessed? Okay, so that's rapid eye movement. All of us do it when we're sleeping. It's our late stages of sleep. That's where our brain, our mind, is processing exposures, traumatic exposures. And by the way, every day you're on duty and you've got to pass the intersection where 3 years ago there was that horrible car accident with lots of dead pedestrians, it gets added back into the docket of being reprocessed that night. So every time we have to go over traumatic exposures and memories, even if they're not traumatic for us or we don't think they are susceptible to be changed. So that means fear can become more intense. Blood becomes more red. Smells or sounds become more intense. Oh, by the way, if it's about traumatic exposures from our childhood, like when parents made us feel inferior or not good enough or scared, all of those can keep coming back up too. So EMDR, we simulate bilateral brain stimulation, either through rapid eye movement or through tactile sensations. You're consciously awake. You feel a little hypnotized, but you're not. But it's because you're so intense in the traumatic memories, and it basically helps reprogram them so they don't hurt so much anymore. So trauma doesn't stop you in your tracks. And believe it or not, a lot of times people don't realize that you guys are walking around like traumatized little wounded zombies, and trauma is coming out in ways you don't think it is, like through hair loss, gastrointestinal distress, irritability. You think it's all just because you can't get enough sleep. Sometimes it's actually just unresolved trauma. Some things people don't like to talk about. Sexual dysfunction that comes out, that can all be signs of trauma. So EMDR can actually really help reset how trauma is influencing your present world.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is the hot topic right now in all of our stations. I know I've had a couple members reach out to me that are currently going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of them is, I think he was like his second week, and he's like, dude, for the first time in my life, like I'm sleeping better.
Good.
So it's been a huge success. It's just great to kind of see the things that are coming along, and kind of changing the way that we do things, in the fire service. It's incredible. And going back to what we were talking about earlier about the home life, I wanted to just say is that I think we're starting to see the shift in the fire service as a whole. Is that like what Pete was saying, like it's okay to say I'm not okay. We're seeing that shift because I just saw an article last month, Dr. Sarah Jenke put out that for the first time, divorce rates in the fire service are actually lower than normal people.
Wow.
Which, when I got hired, I think it was like 60%, right? Like you're not a fireman unless you're on your second or third marriage. Like that's the moniker, right?
Yeah.
So it's just incredible to see like all these things and everything that you're doing and here in Pasco County. But I know you work obviously with Pinellas County as well. Do you work with any other agencies throughout the area, like with Hillsborough County or Tampa? Or
So Tampa, we have little onesie twosies with. The airport is actually our newest contract. I know that seems a little like rando, but the Tampa airport, because they have a law enforcement department and all of that.
Okay.
But we actually extend down into the Manatee, Palmetto County
Okay.
area. And I have some reach over in the Orlando area too.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say Pasco County and Pinellas County are our largest representations. And that's also very meaningful. I do want to emphasize too, we are designed to be a resource for the members. So we don't do substance abuse residential treatment, for example, but we know plenty of avenues of how to get you there safely, quietly, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So, or sometimes people are just struggling with, I don't know what to do with my children. We do not work with children necessarily. So sometimes we have some connections to try and get you like a provider that can work with children. So, yeah.
I think there's a lot of different avenues that are out there from where it was. I never thought in my career that the fire department would sign a contract with an organization to provide mental health.
Right.
Well, I'm very glad they did.
Yes, we are too.
But I never, that was never on the radar. You never heard of that. And now we interview these new hires, and that's one of the questions they ask. Like, what kind of mental health resources did you have? Yeah,
it's awesome. Cool. It's awesome.
And I know the IFF offers, they have their own brand that they offer. They have, the Center of Excellence, and they have programs that they reach out, and they have their own series of classes that are taught to help with it. So it's nice. It's like a collaboration of people saying, hey, it's okay.
Yeah. I will say, we work super collaboratively with the Center for Excellence. And I'm the first one to always say, we are one of various resources. And there are all different kinds of therapy out there, right? Church is a form of therapy for some. Going to Disney World is a form of therapy for some. Being at the gym is a therapy for some. It's how do you diversify your skill sets? How do you know the resources? How do you feel comfortable researching or accessing them and just giving one a try, right? So I love hearing that the new hires come in and they're interviewing you guys. Like, what programs do you have here to protect us?
I'm telling you, that's, Pete's right. They talk about every time, every new hire class, we have our union presentation. And then, at the end, we're always asking questions. We're always fielding questions about the resources that we have here. A lot of people, whether it's the 2472s or honestly, I was in new hire interviews 2 classes ago. And one of the new hires like, man, I was listening to your guys' podcast on the way down here. Like, you guys have mental health resources. You guys have these things, the decon program, all of these different things that Pasco County is doing to take care of, so we had a former chief here, John Schmidt, and he used to say this, we take care of the whole firefighter, right? Like, you're not just a firefighter, you're a husband, wife, son, daughter, brother, sister, dad, mom, right? So if we take care of our people outside of the job, then we can expect them to come to work, at 100%.
Yes.
Ready to perform. It's beneficial to the citizens. It's beneficial to other employees, to the department. It's just a great thing. And I love everything that you guys are doing here.
Thanks.
I do kind of want to talk, if we got some time, just about that retiree part, because, that's one thing as I was talking about, was actually some former athletes, that are in the fire service, right? And kind of how when they stopped playing, whether it was college or professional, even high school sports, right? It's like you lose that identity. Your entire life you've been playing a sport, and now you lose your support system. You lose all these things. It's the same thing with retirees, right? For 30 years, you dedicated your life to this. You identified yourself as this. You had a support system at work, and now all of a sudden, poof, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that you talk to retirees about on how to prepare for that next step, and how do you manage, things when you are retired?
So I will be honest, Dr. Clemley and Dr. Higgs on our staff, they're the ones that have done the most with their retiree workshop series, that they go out there and do that. So I hope I do them justice, but really it's prep. There's a lot of internal dialogue work of like confronting the distorted narratives and interpretations that we have that are coming out. So I feel useless. That example of the firefighter I gave earlier, where he's like, well, when I sit down and I do nothing, I feel lazy. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't voice and externalize the distorted thought process that we're applying to ourselves. And so to say, I feel useless because I have nothing to do and no community to serve, we have to work on how can you find a way to be useful. I'm a big proponent of what did you get in the fire service and how do we actually not lose a lot of those elements that were so meaningful for you? So like if you loved and had a heart of service, how do we find service in our retirement, but not under the demands of a formal employment or being in the fire service, right?
Right.
How do we mirror that? Because by the way, those are true elements to you that were never going to leave the fire service and they were being nurtured by it. So I need to kind of dissect you and you dissect yourself in order for you to know, like, oh, golf isn't going to fill all the voids for me. Like, golf sounds, or the boat sounds lovely.
Right.
It really does. But who are you serving on the boat?
Right.
And you might be missing that element, or, knowing that there are people around you. Or, by the way, how the fire service, sometimes going to shift is an escape from our home lives, and how we actually start to like miss that we get away from our spouse once in a while. Like, that was kind of cool. We enjoyed our private time together, not realizing that it also was demanding of us. So how do I help you reconstruct your retirement life so that it doesn't cause more conflict and all of that? But it does start there. And it's also interpreting your retirement through the lens of grief. Nobody does that. American culture does a horrible job of saying, like, look forward to retirement. It's going to be the greatest. And we don't actually appreciate, more like the European model, that retirement is a massive loss. And so we actually either need to grieve it, or we need to ease into it rather than just strip it away.
Right.
We treat our retirees very similarly as any of our people who are injured on the job and have to medically retire prematurely. It's the same idea. Your career was stripped from you, not by choice. Retirees, most of them, although they think they are choosing that, you have to admit most people get to the point that they're just done. Right. I'm fucking done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Right. That choice was stripped from them. So we do try and work on reconnecting them positively with their career and what they've accomplished, what they've contributed, and that they are changing those distorted narratives about what it would mean to not be in it.
Right. No, I love that. I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's brought up at different IFF conventions, FPF conventions all the time about we have to figure out a way to address the retiree issue, because it's something that no one ever talks about, right? Like we don't talk about the suicides and retirees, right? We don't talk about the divorces after retirement or the financial stresses that you have when you're retired. Fixed income, one thing happens here, another thing happens there, bad investment, whatever it is, like, and then just being away from it. So I love that conversation's being had. I love that it's being brought to Pasco County. It's just such a benefit for all of our members, current and past. I think it's great. And I look forward to, hopefully in the next 2 years, right, that becomes more mainstream. We have to address this issue that we have. It's just like military veterans, right? When they're out of the military, they have a lot of issues. You just lose that identity and your purpose. Yep.
Actually, I will say, out of all of my agencies, Pasco Fire is the only agency that built retirees into their contract. So my PCSO, they have found grants to support retirees.
Okay.
And then a lot of my fire union chapters and locals, they have carved out benevolence funds to support retirees, but Pasco is actually the only one that has built-in retirees into their contract. So I think that's among awesome. Many wins. Yes. I feel like that is a nod to Pasco that should be acknowledged.
That's awesome.
How can unions and departments build stronger relationships with professionals like you?
Great question. I'm going to say things like this. This was so damn fun. I loved this. Honestly, some of the best relationships I have with unions is when they either reach out to me directly, or if we're at an event, and we see each other, talk to me.
Right.
Like, please come talk to me, because, by the way, I can't tell you, maybe a little different. I have a great working relationship with some of the law enforcement unions. Do you know how helpful that is when we have a fitness for duty issue, or we have an advocacy issue, or we have an officer involved shooting that needs someone on scene? So, or from the fire side, you guys are a trusted resource. So they might reach out to you first to find out what's available to me. And I'm also worried about my job. You guys can connect with us. And at that point, that's a confidential phone call. When If you're helping a member in distress who's worried about losing their job, the moment you connect with our office via our phone, that's protected under HIPAA and confidentiality, which means if we've got to like funnel that person into treatment somehow, that's a quiet, private experience that we can work collaboratively with you guys. So I think it's really, we are here to better support your process, and certainly you can add to ours. Like, we are collaborative together, and we're both in service of like healthy members.
I'm hoping that people that watch or listen to this podcast understand that your office is open and they can reach out to you and kind of use a model like what we have to build something for their union, their local, or their department.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be union based. It can be department based.
True. Most of our contracts are built at the department level. And certainly I think I always take the opportunity to I don't know if any of my team members will hear this, but they really are one of those critical backbone pieces. Like, they are part of that success. Because when we have that 24-hour line, like, good example, I'm on call right now, but tomorrow I think John is. So tomorrow could be the night that one person is just struggling so bad, and he's the one that's forming that relationship and building that trust and like being the go-to. I think it was earlier this week, we had another member in crisis and someone just showed up at our office. Someone found a way to like meet that need, and that was amazing. So yeah, I have to like really give a nod out to them.
Yeah, it's incredible. You guys do great work, and like I was saying earlier, and like Pete was talking about, right? Like, most of your contracts are department based. I mean, you know, we have support, obviously, not only from our administration department, but also from our board of county commissioners and county administration. Like, you know, it's a combined effort, you know, to bring Tampa Bay Psychology here into Pasco County and to continue to provide these services. You know, we look around, I mean, it's funny, we go to all these conventions and you hear all the problems that our departments and locals have throughout the state, right? You know, I just saw something on Facebook. I want to say it was Escambia. Their county administration just decided, we're going to take all your patches and stickers off of your uniforms and off of your trucks. It's like, you're taking away part of the pride and the identity of that department, right? Like what they feel a sense of pride and ownership there. And to me, it's like that just speaks to the environment that are in some of these locals and some of these departments, right? Like, instead of trying to, that is such low hanging fruit that like, it shouldn't even be part of the conversation for county management to come in and talk about patches, right? I would love to see more county administrators, more board of county commissioners or city council members put their effort into providing services like you and like Pasco County did with Tampa Bay Psychology. Like, that is where their focus should be. The focus should be in supporting first responders, and not kind of, you know, attacking them at every chance that they get. So hopefully, you know, we get the people that watch this and hear you speak and, you know, hear the services that you've provided for us. Hopefully they start to reach out more. And maybe if it's not Tampa Bay Psychology, someone that is, you know, local to them. But do you have anything else to add? You know,
mental health is important as physical health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking care of each other means looking out for the injuries we don't always see. So
can't agree more.
We appreciate you, Dr. Benson, for taking the time to come out here today and go through this podcast with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Today's episode of the Firewire podcast was brought to you by Frontline Fire Training Institute, veteran and firefighter owned, committed to your professional growth and success. Explore their state-approved online courses at myfireclass.com. Dr. Benson, thank you again so much for joining us today for the work you're doing for our first responder community. This was a great conversation and one that really matters.
Thank you.
Dr. Benson, real quick, do you want to give a shout out on how, if any other local or department is looking to, you know, partner with you, how they can reach out to you?
Sure. Honestly, I would just go to our website where all the contact information is there. So tampabaypsychology.com. I get there's a lot of letters in that. So most double check the O's and the G's and the L's, right. But tampabaypsychology.com. My email address is there. The office number is there. So if anyone wants to ask questions on whether or not their department has a contract with our group, we can answer that. or if you are looking to maybe bring services in, we also can discuss that as well.
Awesome. So to everyone listening or watching, I want to thank you all for joining us. If you have any ideas, requests, questions, sponsorship inquiries, or even if you'd like to donate something to our wall back here, which as you can see is still bare, we're looking for some patches, some challenge coins, things like that. You can always reach out to us at thefirewirepodcast@gmail.com.
And while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Firewire podcast, wherever you listen or watch. We're available everywhere you get your podcast. And if you're not on your favorite platform, let us know. We'll make sure that we get there.
So everyone watching, stick around. We have our Union Corner coming up next. Until next time, stay safe, stay connected. We'll see you on the next episode of the Firewire podcast. Thank you again, Dr. Benson, for stopping by today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Stay tuned. Coming up next is the Union Corner.
All right. Time for the Union Corner. We want to give a huge thank you to Plantation Palms Golf Club for hosting our 9/11 Memorial Golf Tournament, and to all of our sponsors and the 166 golfers who came out. We're already planning for 2026.
Yeah, what a huge success the golf tournament was this year. It's been successful every year. Like we talked about in a previous episode, we're kind of looking at what we're going to do next year. I know a lot of people were upset they couldn't get registered because unfortunately we were full. So we're definitely looking to see what we can do next year to kind of, fix those issues. But also don't forget to mark your calendars. We have the 4th annual Jason Tucker Memorial Inshore Slam. It's coming April 25th of 2026. That was another fundraiser this year that was just incredibly successful. And we're looking every year to build it. On that topic, on the Jason Tucker Memorial fundraiser. So this year at our annual business meeting, the membership voted and approved to establish the scholarship fund. So we are working on the details there, on the application, what we're going to require for that scholarship. But we do plan to get that out here in the next week or two. So everyone just kind of be on the lookout for that. If anyone that is getting ready to go through Fire Academy, have them apply for the scholarship. We're going to open it up a window for 30 days. And then as an executive board, we're going to review all the applications, and then we're going to choose the person that's going to be the recipient. It's just a fantastic thing that we're going to do to keep Jason Tucker's name in the fire service and, continue the legacy that he built.
I love it. They're union in action. The Movember Cornhole Challenge is happening November 30th at Florida Avenue Brewery in Wesley Chapel. So that's November 30th at Florida Avenue Brewing in Wesley Chapel. It's $50 per team. Register now. You can go to www.iaff4420.org/cornhole. That's www.iaff4420.org/cornhole. All proceeds benefits the Firefighter Charities of Pasco and help raise awareness for men's health.
Yeah, please come out for that event. It's going to be in Movember. Are we doing a shave off as well this year? Partner with that? Is that the plan?
I think it's like they don't want to give too much.
We're going to be shaving off mustaches.
But I'm sure
if I got anything to say about it.
You got to pay some money.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pay some money.
Yep. And even if you don't register a cornhole team, come out. It's going to be a great evening of brotherhood and camaraderie and raising money for our charity organization to go towards men's health. The other part is that for our members, for Local 4420 members, we do have our new website we've been telling you about is coming. We are finally at that point. So look for a test email to come out, going to be next week, which is going to be the week of November 11th. So what that's going to do, obviously the annual business meeting, we had 2 resolutions get passed by those that were present at the business meeting that will come out for vote. We did have nominations for several positions on our executive board. Proud to announce that there was no new candidates. So all of the current executive board members, they did keep their positions by acclamation. We do have the Vice President of Internal, Kyle Patton. He did send a letter out to the membership letting them know that he is stepping down from his position. So we are currently open for nominations for a new internal vice president. Right now there's only been one nomination, so we will see if we do have a race. But if we do, voting will be done on the new website as well. So just everyone kind of keep an eye out for that test email. Part of that as well is that when that email comes out and you go to register and create an account, there is going to be instructions on how you can sign up for a t-shirt and also a challenge coin. So once we get those orders in, it's going to be a 30-day window for you to get on the website, register, and put in your size and what you're looking for in the shirt. And then we will have the shirts and challenge coins dispersed, probably going to be January, February timeframe by the station reps. They will come to your station and they will deliver those shirts and the challenge coin. So just make sure everyone's keeping an eye out for that email. And when it comes through, please register. Remember, this is the website that we do all of our voting on. There's going to be pages inside for you to, see things that are being put out by the executive board. They'll be put on that website. We're going to have an exchange of time page, all these kinds of different things. And, we got some other plans in the future for that website. So just, please register and kind of stay tuned.
Some good resources that are going to come with it.
Absolutely.
Finally, nominations are open for the VP of Internal Affairs following Kyle Patton's resignation, just like Dixon said. So make sure that you submit any nominations to the election committee at iff4420.org. That's election committee at iff4420.org by November 18th at 5 p.m. Updates from the special business meeting on October 27th, 28th are available for the members. I think one of the other important things that happened at that meeting was that we gave the emeritus status to two deserving members, Kyle Patton and J.J. Martinez. Mm-hmm. Both of them worked really hard to get where we're at today. The fact that we're in this union hall had a lot to do with the work that Kyle did.
Yep.
And a lot of the reason we had the meeting today with Dr. Benson is because of what J.J. has done when he was on the board of the union and what he's doing as the health and safety chief.
Yep.
So shout out to them and congratulations on that.
Yep.
That'll be on the.
Yep. So
that'll be on there, and there'll be also some bylaw changes that'll need to be voted on.
Yep. So the resolutions, obviously, they were passed unanimously by those that were in attendance at the business meeting on both days. And then now, because there are resolutions, they will go out to an online vote for the membership. And that's, like I said, next week, be on the lookout for that test email because that is where you're going to be voting for the resolutions. I don't know if we had there was one amendment to the bylaws.
Sergeant of Arms position. That
will have to go out for a vote, and then that will have to be approved by the International Association. Once it is either approved, if it's denied, then we don't have to send for their approval. But just make sure everyone, like I said, on our previous website, we had a lot of members that weren't registered, and there was always issues getting them registered so they could vote for elections and things like that. So just make sure when you see this email come out, if you have any issues, you can always reach out to either Secretary Sabrina Colbert or our Communications Director, Stephen Stanforth, and they'll help you through the process and getting you registered on that email.
One thing, this is a good time of the year. Check over your paycheck.
Yep.
Make sure that union dues are coming out.
Yep.
We found some discrepancies. So if you guys can check your paycheck, make sure that you're paying into the union if you sign the papers. And if you're not, you can email Sabrina Kobler and we'll figure out what the issue was and we'll get you taken care of. There's a lot of stuff going on between now and Christmas. I know the department's doing interviews. They're looking at hiring 16 that will start January 12th. So there'll be about 16 members. I know you're going on a trip here soon to Tallahassee.
Yep.
You want to talk about what you're going to be doing up there?
Yep. So we'll be in Tallahassee the week November 17th through the 19th. Obviously, we have the executive council meeting for the FPF, which is done quarterly. So that'll be up there, but it's also committee weeks. So we will be talking about appropriations and what we're looking for this year, and also going to be having some, other discussions about the legislative environment right now in Tallahassee, right? I know everyone's kind of talking about property taxes. Is there anything that's going to be, done for FRS this year? So we're going to start having those conversations here that week of November 17th, and then we will be back up there again for the FPF Legislative Convention, January 26th through the 29th. So what we do that every year is, we go up there, we walk the halls, right? And we see all of our legislators, and that's where we talk about the FPF legislative priorities for the year, make sure that everyone is on the same page. So be on the lookout for that. This is going to be a long session. We've already been advised this is probably going to be a long session. So, next year, just like last year, you're going to see members of your executive board up in Tallahassee probably 3-4 times this year. So, just be on the lookout, obviously, as things evolve, and, we'll see where the property tax discussion goes. Obviously, we're going to keep you all informed. But right now it's kind of too early to really know, what is coming or what is not. But it's going to be a big year, So the IFF also just 2 days ago, they put out their new Strive for Excellence conference. So that is a combination of the Affiliate Leadership Training Summit and also the Redmond Symposium that covers, EMS, physical and mental health. They combine it
Health
all
and
in
safety.
one. This year it is being held out in Las Vegas. It's going to be the last week of March. So, excuse me. Take it.
So last week of March, we're looking into it now. Like Dixon said, it just came out. So we're going to probably take some members, probably the executive board and some of the committee leads out there and let them participate. This is kind of what they're doing is mirroring like what FDICE does.
Yep.
So basically it's a week-long program, both hot classes, in-person classes, and tracks. And what I mean by tracks is they'll have all the classes will be geared towards one idea. So you'll have a communications consortium of classes. You'll have health and safety. You'll have negotiations, advanced negotiations. So I think it's, by combining it, it's not two separate events. But we knew it was coming. We didn't know when, and they unloaded it.
And we didn't know where either.
And we didn't know where. It was out there, so now we kind of know, hey, it's here. And, we've already reviewed some of the template for what they're doing with the classes. So I think it's a great way for some of our committee leads to go out, get some great information, bring it back to use. There's some great classes for the executive officers that are structured towards them. And they're from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. Yeah. So they're definitely, it's going to be beneficial to get some members out there to take care of that.
Yep. And I mean, talking about what we can get from this type of conference, our peer fitness program, right? Obviously Chris Krima being our lead on that, he got a lot of information from the Redmond Symposium several years ago when him and Michael Pagnotta went up there and brought that back here to Pasco County. And we have seen what that has developed into. A lot of the health and safety initiatives that we have came from, alts and the Redmond Symposium as well. So what we take away from these events is, it's here, right? Like the things that we have built collaboratively between the union and administration, all of that comes from a conference like this. It's all everything that we learned, the knowledge that we get from these weeks, and obviously just talking to other locals too, we're going to be out there with a lot of West Coast unions. So we're going to see how they're doing some things, different programs that they have going on. So it's just a very informative week that's coming. Next year is going to be a busy year. Like I said, we're going to be up in Tallahassee, I would imagine 4 times next year. We have the Strive for Excellence, like we just talked about. We're going to have the FPF convention. We have the IFF convention in Texas. That's going to be in August. And then, like everyone's been talking about, we have negotiations. Yes. So it's going to be a very long year next year. The negotiations are obviously, as always, we're going to keep you all informed, and as we're going through that process, we're going to have our informational meetings. I know that's kind of like the hot topic. I've gotten a lot of questions asked to me about what we're looking for. I've had those conversations with the individuals. We did talk about at the executive board with the station reps as well as what we were looking for. So don't feel comfortable talking about that right now on this platform. But if any members have any questions about what the union priorities are for negotiations next year, reach out to your station reps, because we did just have this discussion. We are going to have our first prep meeting in December. We'll just see where it goes. I do want to put this little thing out there for everyone so no one's taken by surprise. If we do see something come from the state, regarding property taxes, do not be surprised if you see negotiations kind of go into the fall a little more. There's going to be probably some hesitation on both sides, to come to an agreement before something is concrete on what property taxes is going to look like. So I'm just kind of putting that out in the air right now, not saying it's going to happen, not saying it's not going to happen, but just kind of be aware that there's a possibility that, it could take place. So,
some other news, obviously you guys have known, you've seen that the ACA, JJ Murphy, is leaving. He's been a great inspiration and a great help to us for his time here. So just want to give him a shout out. Tell him thank you. Appreciate everything that he's done while he's here and help get us to where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big part of, having Dr. Benson on here today, right? I mean, the contract with Tampa Bay Psychologist and Associates is one of the first things that got done when he was the ACA here for public safety. So he's been a tremendous ally and advocate for fire rescue, for public safety in general in the county. We can't thank him enough for the things that he has done here and his collaborative efforts here, and we wish him nothing but the best in his new ventures. And we've had conversations with him. He knows how we feel about him, and he knows that if he ever needs anything, he can absolutely reach out. He always will have friends here in Pasco County Fire Rescue.
Big shout out to Steve Stanforth, our producer too, for putting this together.
Yep.
You never see him, but he's behind the camera, behind the monitors, making sure we have a great show. So we want to give him a shout out and tell him thank you.
Yep. I don't know. I think we're coming up. This is coming to the end of my first year in this position. It's definitely been a whirlwind. We've had some ups, some downs, but I think it's been a very successful year. We've done a lot of good things. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I think we have a hell of a board. We have a hell of a staff. When we look at our committees and our different committee leads, things are moving in the right direction. And the department as a whole, we're working, collaboratively with them. Obviously the biggest thing this year was getting prepared for D shift. Now that D shift is here, January 25th is that start date. I know everyone can't wait to see, how that looks, how that feels. And kind of on that topic, was just talking to Chief Martinez the other day. So we are partnering with Florida State and Embry-Riddle. We are going to be doing a sleep study. So he is going to be looking for volunteers here this month to where, I don't know if it's necessarily a Whoop band, but something, like that to monitor your sleep a couple months before D shift starts. And then also when D shift begins, there are a lot of locals and departments kind of looking for this type of information and what does this shift change actually do for health. So just be on the lookout for any of those emails that are going to come out. Please, if you're interested, please reply. Everything that we are going to be doing with this program, while it may not seem like it's going to directly impact Pasco County because we're already moving to the D shift, it has the ability to impact the fire service as a whole. We're kind of like the guinea pig. So, any members that are interested in signing up for that program, please do. It's going to be, I'm very interested and excited to see what the results come back from that study.
Like you said, it's surreal. The county's doing interviews, and that group will start January 12th. And when they come off orientation, they will never know what working a 24, 48 hour. We're finally there.
Right.
They will never know what it's like to work a 24, 48.
It's kind of crazy, how quickly we got here. It always seemed like, obviously contract executed, right? And you're looking at it's in year 3. It's in year 3. And then just how quick time flies. And here we are, everyone inside, there were, I wouldn't even call them hiccups, right? There were some bumps in the road, right, with getting D shift here, but we all knew that was going to be a thing, right? We all knew that this wasn't going to be smooth because nobody, at least in the state of Florida, even close to our size, has transitioned to this shift. So I definitely want to commend the administration and our executive board for working together to get to the end goal, which is to have D shift, to have it be successful. So, we're looking forward to January 25th here in Pasco County. It's going to be a great day. So, you got anything else? Do we have anything else on the agenda coming up?
No, I think we're good. Just again, the website is going to be up. Please be on the lookout for those emails. Do not use a county email when it's time. Make sure you use some kind of personal email, not a county email. And please, when you get those emails, respond to it. It'll come from an email that might look like info=iff4420.org at webmail. It's not spam. We promise you. It's a link or it's a test email, and we need you to respond to it, because once we get everybody signed up, it opens the realm of responsibility of options that we can do when the website's up and running. We can vote on it. We can get you guys alerts. We can get the app up and work. It's going to be so nice that once we get this done and you're established, when it's time to vote, they'll email you. The app will open and you just hit yes or no to vote. It's going to be that simple.
Yep.
So please be on the lookout. Help us help you by responding to that email.
The one thing we have coming up, we have the Benevolence Christmas Party, right? What date and where is that?
The Benevolence Christmas Party is December 5th. It's going to be at Innisbrook. You can reach out to Philip Roman at Station 28. Captain Roman can handle it. You can talk to Captain Edwards, Steve Cherry, any of the board. And I would reach out. You can email them. There's tons of information about it in Vector Solutions and online. So please, on the Facebook page. So please, December 5th, they're looking. They haven't sold out yet. So they're looking for people to attend. So it's at Innisbrook on December 5th.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all that we got for Union Corner, guys. I want to thank you all for tuning in, watching the podcast again. We apologize for, the break that we had. A lot of people were asking when the next episode was going to be. We're working right now on future guests. So, stay tuned for that. Please like, share, subscribe. Once again, I want to thank you for tuning into the Firewire podcast as always. Pete.
The Firewire podcast at gmail.com.
Yes.
The Firewire podcast at gmail.com. Give us some ideas of what you want to hear about. This is your podcast just as much as it's ours. Let us know. Listen, like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Appreciate y'all for listening.
Yeah. And we want to, real quick before we sign off, we want to thank Frontline Fire Training Institute again for sponsoring this episode of the Firewire podcast. It is a veteran and firefighter owned and committed to the professional growth and success of all firefighters throughout the state of Florida. You can explore their state-approved online classes once again at myfireclass.com. That is myfireclass.com. Thank you, guys.
Happy holidays.
See you next time.